Hey, everybody. This is Micah Lieberman with Scope, running, of course, in the US in February and Barcelona in October, and also ScopeX in Boston. And today, as always, I get to have conversations with people doing interesting things in clinical research. Today, I have somebody new, and it's like a TV show, Skye. So this is Skye Bork. She is the founder of PACT. But I met Skye because she is a finalist for the Participant Engagement Award. She's doing something interesting. So Skye is the co-founder of PACT. And if you go look at I don't know if you could see the tagline on her background because we're going to edit this, but it says, "It shouldn't take a miracle to find or fill a trial." So that's the thesis. But welcome, first of all. Hi, Skye.
Thank you. Hello.
Hey, okay, so we were just chatting. I said you're kind of a new face because I think your Scope's a new thing because this has not historically been your world.
No.
You have not been at a big sponsor running trials. This is a completely different thing for you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about kind of the what and the why, then the how. So tell people what you're doing, then we'll get into the why you're doing it. So tell people what you're doing.
For sure. And thank you for the intro. So like you said, not from this space, come at it from a more personal perspective. So to take us all back there, I'll tell my own story and extend that out to what I saw and why I'm now working in this space. So it's March 2024. Dad ends up in the ER. Next thing we know, it's an emergency brain surgery. And we head back into the doctor's office to hear about how the surgery went and what they think it is 2 weeks later. And, we're in a cold and sterile room, have a doctor we don't know come in and say, this is a grade 4 glioblastoma, is a serious, aggressive, and terminal brain cancer, and you're looking at, 12 to 18 months, if you're lucky. So that's the standard of care in brain cancer. That's what it guarantees. And yet we never heard the word clinical trials or research. And we happened to know about it through another family member's journey with cancer. And so from there, my family spent hours every day trying to understand and assess the full scope of options that were available to my dad. And it was impossible. And my story is not unique. It is pretty much the universal experience of a patient trying to access cutting edge care. And so PACT is born out of that desire for quick, easy, and really data-driven information for my family to make informed decisions on my dad's treatment journey.
Yeah, it's a tough story, but that's the kind of what happened, and that's the why right now, right? Because you had to become an expert.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And so as a layman, you became very, very, very aware of how this works. Okay. So go to the next step. What did you end up doing beyond helping your father? Like, what did this lead to?
So what I saw is the clinician being expected to run the end-to-end process of engaging and enrolling patients despite seeing dozens of patients a day with a diversity of disease states and situations. So this burden of search and discovery was put on the patient, and yet there were no really great tools to facilitate that. So what PACT does is it integrates with a patient's record and then uses AI to feed them a relevant set of clinical trial options and then enables them to automate all communications out to the trial team. So it's effectively a co-pilot for clinical trial search and enrollment for patients. And then, conversely, for trial teams, it is enabling interested and engaged patients to reach them. And we've had the first iteration of our platform live for a few months and primarily serving brain cancer patients. And we're just focused on working on making it an even better platform for patients and life sciences.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more. So you mentioned two things. One is the patient side, right? It helps them find so I guess I have three questions. I'll ask them first of all, how are you kind of aggregating and collecting those? Are you taking clinicaltrials.gov plus others and trying to create a rational feed that is a clean data set? Or how are you doing it?
Yes. So, we're engaging clinicaltrials.gov, their API, and essentially enriching that with other data we're able to find online or manually. And I would point to that as a place where AI has power, but is beholden to the current state to a degree as well, and where we need
Yeah,
action beyond just technology.
right.
Um, so yes, that's how we're aggregating the clinical trial data. And on the patient side, it's a patient-directed platform. So patients initiate the integration, and then we're able to access their record on their behalf.
Got it. Okay. And for a sponsor company, if once you're connecting, let's say you find relevant trials for these patients, what happens next?
So it's all patient consented and directed. So those trials are surfaced for patients, and then with their consent, we're able to send them over to sites that are actively recruiting for those trials. So what we're doing for sponsors is effectively unlocking a national pre-screened patient population and
Right.
bringing down any communication between the two to an instant connection, because we're able to share their data and pre-screening results, eliminating all of that um, data gathering time and effort, as well as pre-screening work that would traditionally be done by a site.
Right. Okay. And then I'm going to go back 2 steps too is you had said something, you said it's AI powered, right? But you're enriching the data set. Clinicaltrials.gov has what it has. It's famously a clunky interface that is very frustrating
For
to many.
sure.
Okay. So there's a huge value just in what you're doing without
Sure.
enriching that. Okay. So do you need a certain amount of domain expertise? Like if you're enriching that database, like you're focused on brain cancer, you became an expert, unfortunately, due to your father's
Yes.
diagnosis. So
Yes.
because right, you're going to grow. You're going to go across all types of types. So right now, where you are, when you look at your experience of trying to enrich that data set to make sure you find all of the care options, all of the research happening within that space, what did that look like? What was that enrichment process like beyond the AI?
So, realistically, obviously there are ways that we can intentionally web scrape, etc., to get information, but a lot of it is relationship building and being
Yeah.
aware of what's going on in the industry, and like doing the manual process so that it can be automated. Um, what I will say is, you know, all of our technology is scalable across disease areas. Obviously, the enrichment, there's a degree of manual effort there, but like something we've built recently that I'm really excited about is an audit agent. So we were getting a lot of feedback from patients like, okay, you've given me what's on clinicaltrials.gov. You told me how eligible you think I am for this
Mhm.
trial. How in the world do I make a decision among the 5 or 10 options you've given me
Uh-huh.
on what's actually worth
Yeah.
pursuing? And so, what we've built is, an engine that goes out and reads and surfaces all the preclinical and clinical data associated with a trial, so that you're able to make a really informed decision on what exactly you're getting yourself into, and you're able to take like a scientific clinical perspective on it as a layperson to the degree possible. And like again, that's scalable across disease areas and puts that information in the patient's hands.
I love it. It's a good story. Not that your father's diagnosis is a terrible story, but
Thank you. Yes.
I'm really impressed by, and you're not the only person. I've heard similar stories where people
For
are like,
sure.
I've had them at Scope where they're like, I'm an accountant or I'm a whatever. I know
Yes.
nothing about life science. I've never even been a health advocate for myself
Yeah.
because of a loved one. I
Yes.
ended up going into this world and kind of banging my head against a wall and said, you
Exactly.
know what? I think I'm going to figure this out myself. You
Yeah,
know?
I and again, that's what I was saying. It's one, certainly not a unique experience to have something like this happen to you and try to find information. And there's also many people innovating in this space and trying to push the future forward. And I think it's absolutely necessary because really what I'm describing at its core is a patient-led revolution in how
Yeah.
cutting-edge treatment is accessed. So we need patient voices and action collectively to drive progress forward. So it's all unfortunate that we've had to experience these things, but the people using their voices to push for a better, more equitable, and accessible future, it's incredible, and it's the work that we need.
Yeah, right on. All right. Well, everybody, this is Skye Bork with PACT. She's one of our finalists for the Participant Engagement Award. You will be meeting her at Scope in February. Good work. We're proud of what you're doing. We like what you're doing. And thanks for hanging out.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Skye.